What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a truly fantastic day if you're a Bulls fan. There's so much positivity going around the Chicago Bulls, and I know many of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But overall, we'll be talking mainly in this video about the Chicago Bulls and the Sacramento Kings game reaction. Everything else that happens along the way about the news of the Chicago Bulls will be done in another video, just to clear that up straight away. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about everything going around the Chicago Bulls today, as well as the player of the game for the Sacramento Kings and the Bulls game, and what are your thoughts on this 5-game win streak? Because we did win this game, ladies and gentlemen. We won this game 125 to 118. A very interesting game, and you have to give full credit once again to Sacramento. They did not go away, and they did not make things easy for the Chicago Bulls, but an extremely well-balanced and well-needed offensive performance, mainly from our starting lineup, ended up being the key difference in the game today, and I'm really happy to see a performance like this for the Chicago Bulls. Again, Sacramento is probably going to be the toughest challenge out of the two games between the Spurs and the Kings. And they definitely brought it into the Chicago Bulls today. They attacked the paint. It was a very pick and roll orientated game for both teams, ladies and gentlemen. And that's ended up being the why the scoreline was as high as it is, because both teams very much struggle in pick and roll defense, but they're some of the highest percentages of pick and roll offense. So again, it was an interesting game. It was a very fun game, in my opinion, to watch. But the most important thing out of this game, we walked away with the win. We are now on a 5-game win streak, which is a beautiful way to end off heading into the All-Star break, and of course after that as well. So much positivity, so many great things happening for the Chicago Bulls, and this is definitely the most important, in my opinion. Walking away with the win against a very tough Sacramento Kings team is truly what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just get straight into the individual performances. I've got a lot of videos to make now at this point in time. But first things first, we're going to start off with Demar DeRozan. Congratulations, Demar DeRozan. He made history, ladies and gentlemen. 7+ games with 35 points or more. He is the official record holder in that instance. And Demar DeRozan has again done something for the Chicago Bulls that we should all be celebrating. He's made history, and he's done it in a victory as well. 38 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal for Mr. Demar DeRozan. Again, a very, very good game. And for the most part, it was a relatively quiet game up until that fourth quarter. He had around 25 points or so within the fourth quarter. Maybe he got to 27. I'm not really sure. But either way, it was a really strong game. He made a big 3 in the fourth quarter. Again, missed the fourth quarter. Takes things under his wing in the fourth. And we ended up walking away with a victory because of that. DeMar DeRozan is our leader. DeMar DeRozan has having an incredible month of February. And DeMar DeRozan is the MVP, in my opinion. And he should be very much respected in that way. But again, in a game like this, we had so much balanced scoring, and DeMar is doing so much more than just scoring. I think that's the best part of his February period. It's more than just his scoring, ladies and gentlemen. His rebounding has been on par with some of the best that the team has to offer, and his assist has been some of the highest as well. He's doing everything offensively for the Chicago Bulls, and he's adding in bits and pieces defensively as well. He should be very happy with a performance like this in a game like this against the Sacramento Kings. And congratulations on the history-making performance. Hopefully we can hype this up and make this a really, truly deserving moment for DeMar DeRozan. Ayo Dosunmu had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, or 2 steals I should say, and 1 block. Again, Ayo's having these typical type of nights where he's not the main focal point of the team, but he's still contributing in so many ways. Again, this was not his best shooting night, only 36% from the field, but 6 rebounds, 6 assists, elite defense, a very nice chase down block as well. Beautiful performance for Ayo Dosunmu once again. It's almost like, I'm not comparing the two guys obviously, but it's almost like a Lonzo Ball type of performance where Lonzo's doing a lot of the dirty work on the defensive end, and he's contributing with his points and his assists and his transition play as well. Ayo had a decent performance in that area as well. If he can just if he had even slightly a little bit more efficiency, this game would have been much more out of reach for the Kings. But at the end of the day, you can pick and choose your moments. But Ayo was still fantastic in almost every single way, and he almost had the most minutes on this team. So that's how much the Chicago Bulls trust him as the point guard of this team at the moment. Coby White. Before we get anything in relation to Coby White, obviously he had a great game, but most importantly, happy birthday to Coby White. Hopefully he can have the best birthday present in the world with a fantastic performance against the Sacramento Kings on your birthday. He had 31 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. 57% from the field, 11 from 19, 6 from 11 from the three-point line. And again, a very much well-needed game from Coby White. Vucevic, in the end, had a decent game, but the second option was kind of lacking in that instance, and Coby White took that second option and made it personal. He took everything to the basket, and then he ended up developing that three-point game, and that worked in our favor in the second half as well. They couldn't stop Coby White. And the best thing about this is that he kind of played the Zach LaVine role as well. Demar DeRozan put so much attention on the Sacramento Kings side. They were doubling, they were trying to blitz him, they were trying to pitch out and then go back into the paint, just trying to do everything to deter Demar DeRozan. That Coby White was basically just taking practice shots in this game, pretty much. It's what it felt like at times. And he erupted for another good game. He's played good against the Sacramento Kings before, and he's done it again today. He's been really, really solid, and I'm very happy with his performance against the Sacramento Kings. And this is what, 4 games in a row now? We're talking about how fantastic his shooting has been and how he's erupted for points. It's been a really good stretch of games for Coby White, and it's a perfect way, again, to end heading into the All-Star break, where he could get the rest, and maybe he could come back to that bench and provide some very well-needed bench scoring. Moving into the center, Nikola Vucevic. He had 21 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. I've got to be honest, this is not the best Nikola Vucevic game. He was being guarded by Domantas Sabonis, who is a decent paint protector, not the best pick and roll defender, so we did abuse that, and Vucevic played a part in that as well. But 44% from the field, 1 from 6 from the three-point line. He was very much a mid-range and perimeter-orientated guy today, not so much in the paint as we would like. But at the end of the day, it's not the worst game either from Nikola Vucevic. And again, we're on a 5-game win streak, and I think all 5 of those games he's played a big part in how we've won those games. So when he's in the paint, we all know that's where he's at his best. 21 points, I could guarantee you more than 60%, 70% of those points are because of the paint. So that's something that we need to keep our eyes on, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that he does need to focus primarily on. I don't like when he takes 6 threes a game, to be honest. I think it's a bit too much for Vucevic. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain when he has a 21 and 10 night. Got a double-double at the very end of the game. He should be very happy with a performance like that. And he's been very consistent for quite some time now. For 3 weeks, I should say, for Vucevic. So one bad game or one mediocre game is not even a bad game. It's something I'm not going to pay too much attention on. Javonte Green, 15 points, 6 rebounds, and a block in today's game. Only missed 1 shot in the game, and that came in the 4th quarter. He was 6 from 7 from the field, 85%. Only missed 1 3 from 4 from the three-point line. And again, he's a two-way player now, ladies and gentlemen. He's developing into a great two-way player. Someone that's knocking down the open three. Someone that cuts with a purpose and makes things very difficult for the Sacramento Kings to guard. The best thing about a defense is when they have an offensive guy that just sits in the corner and doesn't move. Does not make any cuts. Does not really focus on trying to get into the paint or have any movement whatsoever. They pass to the open three and try to knock it down. That's the best sort of position that a defense would want to be in, when they have a guy like that that's not willing to move from the corner. But Javonte Green is one of those 3-and-D type guys, one of those two-way players that is so difficult to guard because he's always moving on the court, ladies and gentlemen. He's not standing in one spot. He knows when it's best to cut to the basket. He knows his strengths and his weaknesses, and especially he knows who to trust to get him the ball at certain times. Guys like Ayo will get him the ball. DeRozan got him the ball today. Vucevic is always a guy that's going to be looking for Javonte Green to cut. So all of these things, he knows where he's supposed to be on the court, and he knows his position on the Chicago Bulls. He has been fantastic recently, and I'm not surprised he had a game like this once again. I'm very happy he was able to play today. Moving into the bench, I've been looking at recently in bench scoring for the Chicago Bulls just to see what we need to do to improve that bench scoring. And unfortunately, today's one of those games where we simply need more production out of our bench. Again, I'm hoping that Coby White moving to the bench allows this team to be able to have much more bench production, but only time's going to tell. I can't wait to see Zach LaVine return so we can experiment that and just get something out of this bench. But again, only 8 points off of the bench. It's not good enough. And again, our starters were very well balanced, and our starters are the big reason to win this game. But unfortunately, we need to see a lot more if we're going to see anything in terms of the playoffs from this bench. We can't have 3 or 4 guys off of this bench getting 3 points to 0 points. We need more out of this bench production. Troy Brown Jr. had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. Again, everything outside of the scoring, ladies and gentlemen, is what Troy Brown did well. But Troy Brown has to be a guy that we can rely on as a corner shooter. Again, one of those guys where the defense is set on Troy Brown Jr. being in the corner and they want him to be there, but he doesn't knock down the shots, so they don't prioritize him. So he's had a couple of open shots. He was 0 from 5 from the field today, and all of them are shots I think he can make. So we'll have to wait and see. I think one of the shots that he took, there is no way that's not a foul. That's definitely something I'm going to defend Troy Brown Jr. on, because he took it to the paint and there was so much contact that I thought it was unbelievable how there wasn't a foul. And I think that was pretty much the way that it was going the whole game. The refs simply did not call as many fouls as we've seen over the past few games for the Chicago Bulls and the Sacramento Kings as well. We can't be biased on this channel. Sacramento definitely had some missed foul calls as well. But yeah, it's one of those types of games from the referees. They let them play, and even though there were some missed calls, things just definitely didn't feel that way. It felt like it was just let them play. If it's a foul, it doesn't matter. It's one of those types of games. Derrick Jones Jr., 5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. His best game since his return. 50% from the field, 1 from 1 from the three-point line. Had a nice dunk as well off of a good Ayo, I guess, following his own shot. Derrick Jones Jr. gets the loose ball, puts it in for a dunk. Great to see. I like these types of games from Derrick Jones Jr. And I feel very good that we're not going to be relying on him as a backup center anymore. But again, more in that in another video. But it's fantastic to see Derrick Jones Jr. continue to work and continue to play. I give him a lot of credit and a lot of respect. 2 guys that I simply have to respect for their durability and their willingness to be on the floor. Zach LaVine and Derrick Jones Jr. You got to give the respect to those guys for playing through pain within their hands. And of course, Derrick Jones Jr. with the index finger, Zach LaVine with his thumb ligament. At the end of the day, you have to give full credit, full respect to guys that want to be on this team and are willing to play through pain to do it. Let's just hope it continues to improve and heal, and then eventually we will get the best out of Derrick Jones Jr. But this is a decent game from him. Matt Thomas, 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. All 3 points came from the foul line. There were a couple of times where he's ready to shoot, but he just simply can't pull the trigger. And it's frustrating, but at the end of the day, he at least contributed in some way with some points. And Tony Bradley got 4 rebounds. I'm not going to mention him too much, but I really did think he played solid defense. And that's all I could really give him credit for at the end of the day. Sabonis is a very hard guy to guard. And within the first time he got onto the court, he made it life very difficult for that Sacramento Kings side. He didn't get a shot off. And I feel like the biggest issue with Tony Bradley in many ways these days, it's not his defensive effort, it's the fact that he doesn't take any shots. He has 0 from 0. I want to see how many games that he's consistently played where he's got no points and he's taken no shots, because there's going to be a bunch of them in recent times for Tony Bradley. So again, let's just hope we get to see the best out of him in the future games. Again, we don't know who got waived. I'll talk about more about that later. But it's going to be good to see a little bit of help in that area. Let's move into the must improve, ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually going to pick a bunch of people. I'm going to pick the bench, the whole bench. I think outside Derrick Jones Jr., the rest of the bench has to improve. So that's Troy Brown, that's Matt Thomas, that's Tony Bradley. I think at the end of the day, the starters did too well for me to really consider any of them getting a must improve award. But the bench has been the biggest issue for the Chicago Bulls for quite some time. We are in so many close games because our bench is not delivering in terms of scoring and putting points on the board for the Chicago Bulls. Yes, a lot of them are hustle players. A lot of them can do a lot of good things defensively, rebounding-wise. All of that I don't have an issue with. I think all of them do a great job in that instance. Same with Tony Bradley as well. But in the Chicago Bulls team, if you don't put points on the board, you're going to struggle. The worst thing about having a good team is knowing that the bench can come in and those runs will happen because we don't put points on the board, enough points on the board to secure massive leads. We've not been in a situation for a while where we've blown out a team. Every single game has been super close and super competitive. So it does put heart in your mouth type moments sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain too much. We're on a 5-game win streak. I would be very foolish to be complaining about everything, especially when we're on a very good streak like this. And the player of the game, obviously, to the history maker, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fourth Quarter himself, Demar DeRozan. What's new, ladies and gentlemen? It felt like a quiet game after 3 quarters, but then, of course, Demar DeRozan doing Demar DeRozan type things, absolutely going crazy in the 4th quarter, making history once again, almost dropping 40 once again. And I believe now, because of him, the 5-game win streak remains, and we are on top of the Eastern Conference, with the Bulls' record being 38-21. A beautiful performance, ladies and gentlemen, and the Chicago Bulls rightfully sit on top of the throne in the Eastern Conference heading into the All-Star weekend and the All-Star break. Congratulations to this Chicago Bulls team, fighting through adversity all season, fighting through injuries all season, and we thoroughly deserve to be where we are at the moment because we're beating the teams that we should be beating. There have been a few playoff teams that we simply haven't beaten yet. The Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Philadelphia 76ers. We've beaten a lot of the other teams, but those are the type of teams in the East that we haven't beaten just yet. But look at every other team that we have beat. We have beaten the Cavs before. We've beaten Boston before. We've beaten the Raptors. We've beaten the Nets. We've beaten the Hornets. We've beaten the Hawks. We beat the Wizards, Knicks, Pacers, Pistons, Magic. It goes on. The teams that we're expected to beat is what we've done, and that's why we sit on top of the Eastern Conference when we do not have a fully healthy team. So you've got to give all the credit on the resiliency of the Chicago Bulls. We've done a fantastic job in bringing that resiliency to life, and it shows in our record and it shows in how we play every single night. Our next game is a long way away, so we don't need to worry about that too much, but it's going to be against the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, we'll have some reinforcements in that game against Atlanta, but obviously the last 2 times we versed Atlanta, we beat them back-to-back. Obviously, we had Zach LaVine then. We should be having Zach LaVine there again, so that's going to be great to see. And let's see what this Bulls team can do, ladies and gentlemen. Fingers crossed that we can have a great game against a formidable opposition in Atlanta. We shall wait and see. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.